Welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm Maya Schneider, and it's a brand new season in our brand new home. We're still transitioning into our new set, but you're going to see some big changes here at Channel 6 and with our show, so stay tuned. On today's show, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're talking about the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. This is an enterprise that you may have read a lot about in the newspaper the last year, but may not know a lot about. And today we'll have the opportunity to speak with several members of the foundation and ask them, where is the money going? Where is the money coming from? I'd like to welcome to the first segment in the show, Jim Porter. Jim,
hi,
nice to have you here. And Lisa Dobey.
Hi.
Lisa, welcome. Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation has made a lot of headlines. In fact, I have an article from our most recent Sierra Sun with me. Why? What's going on? What's the history behind the foundation?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The Hewlett family attorney called me about a little over a year ago, and they spent a lot of time up here, a lot of summers up here over the years, and they were interested in returning something to the community. So they asked me if I would be interested in starting a community foundation and accepting a contribution of $1 million. And I thought that was a splendid idea, and that a community foundation would be something that we should have. And at the time, I didn't even know what a community foundation was, but I looked it up later, and then from that, they did make their contribution, and just as they were going in to make, to make the decision to do it, somehow I got the nerve to ask if it would be possible that if they could come up with an extra $1 million for matching grants, so that if we bring in $1, they'd match it for $1. In addition to the initial contribution, then they did that too. So the Hewletts were very, very generous to our community.
Jim, in some circles that's called chutzpah.
I don't know what came over me, but it was they were very fair to us.
Now it worked.
It worked.
Bill Hewlett certainly is a name well known. Hewlett-Packard, institution that's been around for a while. Why did Mr. Hewlett want to give to this community in particular? What was
the Hewletts have some property up on the summit. They also have some property on the West Shore. They've spent a lot of time here. Walter Hewlett and his brothers and sisters have spent a lot of time here. And this is a very special place for them. And
so you had to find out what a community foundation is. What is a community foundation?
Yeah, I did. I literally got off the phone and looked up on the internet for under community foundation.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, it's a philanthropic organization that's community-based, and it raises funds and manages those funds with professional money managers. Often the contributions are larger than some of the other organizations. A lot of estate planning is involved, but not always. The funds are generally endowment funds, so the principal is held intact, and then the interest is used to make grants in the community. And so the community foundation board or volunteers will look for needs in the community and make grants and try and match the needs of the community with the interests and passions of donors.
Lisa, how did you get involved?
I've worked in nonprofits for about 15 years, mostly on the other side, which has been asking for grants and running programs. And it's really fun for me to be on the other side and look at ways that we can improve the community on a broader spectrum. It's especially nice to be able to look not just at social services, which is my background, but also to look at ways that we can support the community through arts and through the environment and recreation and all those other very important parts of what makes our community whole and special. I like to think of a community foundation as the community's savings account. It's a place that people in the community can invest their money, that money grows, and it can come back and help the community for forever, in perpetuity.
Now that's a good analogy. That really helps sort of clarify what the community's role is in the community foundation. What sort of donations have you received?
Well, Jim mentioned a minute ago that Bill Hewlett, and I want to point out that his donation was a personal gift. It wasn't a gift through the corporation or through the foundation. It was a gift from him personally. Made a second $1 million gift, which was gifts that are matched by people in our community. And to date, we've raised about $700,000 toward that $1 million match. So every dollar that someone has given toward endowment is matched dollar for dollar. And forever benefits this community.
What a generous donation.
What a fabulous donation.
What sort of donations is the Community Foundation planning on making? What sort of monies are you putting out there?
already had 2 funding cycles for making grants, where we have awarded grants into the community. And we've awarded grants ranging from to Project Mana, just a whole variety of organizations that have come to us and applied for funds. And that's the primary way that we're dispersing funds at this point. We gave away $37,000 just recently, just this past couple weeks. And in our first funding cycle, we gave away about $17,000. So we're also being able to give away more funds each time we have a grant cycle. So that's one of the ways that we give money into the community. The second way that we give money into the community is through something called a donor advised fund, which is where a donor sets up a fund within our community foundation, and then that donor can advise us on where he or she would like the interest off that account, the earnings off those accounts to go to. So if someone's particularly passionate about recreation or the environment, that person could say, I'd like this gift to go to X, and we try to accommodate that.
Okay. I want to talk just a little bit. We have just a few more minutes left in this segment, and I'd like to find out a little bit about who runs the Community Foundation. It takes some man-hours to put together a budget or a plan for $3 million. It takes some hours.
Believe me, it takes some hours. Well, we have a board of directors. It's a nonprofit corporation, a 501c corporation, for anybody that's interested in that sort of stuff, and I'm sure there's nobody. But and we have a 13-person board, and it's a stellar board. I mean, it's a truly wonderful, community-minded board of folks from the North Tahoe community, Squaw Valley, and Truckee, and they are completely dedicated to the community. And we meet once a month. Each of us is on a couple of committees, so all together we meet at least 3 times a month. And some of us meet many more times than that. And the board, of course, sets policy, and we happen to have a star that is our executive director, President Lisa.
That carries it all out.
She does the work, yeah.
And I just want to emphasize Jim's point about the board. I think one of the things that's important about community foundations is that they are owned by the community. And the people who are on the board and the people who are on the staff live and work, and our hearts belong to this community. And we're really invested in making sure that this community stays the wonderful place that it is.
It truly is.
And the donors, or the people from the community, have come forward as volunteers, and we have dozens and dozens. And it's just, you know the community we live in, and how wonderful the folks are, and they've really risen to the occasion as working with us.
There's no shortage of the volunteer spirit here in Truckee. It's a wonderful
It's wonderful.
thing.
It's very nice.
All right, we'll be coming back after this break and talking in more specific detail about the different areas of interest for the foundation. Jim, I'd like to thank you for being on the show.
Very welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for your hard work, too. I appreciate that. It's sort of fun to have you around, but it's even more fun to see all the work that you do.
That is sort of a hobby of folks, isn't it? I just don't know why. I don't deserve that, do I?
You don't have a bullseye right
I have it right here, right there, yeah.
Thanks so much, Jim. Lisa, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be coming right back at you. Welcome back to the show. We're talking about the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, and I'd like to welcome back Lisa Dobey. Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you.
And welcome to the show, Kathleen Eagan. Kathleen, nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Among other things, Kathleen was the first mayor of the town of Truckee, and she's certainly very involved with our community. Kathleen, we have you on this segment to sort of grill you about the different points of interest that the Community Foundation serves. And I would just like to ask you, first of all, what is your capacity with the foundation?
I'm one of the board members. Jim mentioned in the prior segment that there were 13 board members, and I'm one of the 13.
One of the lucky.
Yeah.
And how did you get involved with that?
Well, after Jim had gotten the phone call with regard to Mr. Hewlett's interest in initiating a community foundation for the Truckee Tahoe area, he called a number of people, and I was among those, described briefly what was happening and what a community foundation was, and I just recognized it as an incredible opportunity for this community, a real chance for us to show what we're capable of doing, and I couldn't pass it up.
And here you are.
Here I am.
Well, tell us, if you can, some of the different priority areas for the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Well, let me have Lisa respond to that.
We have a lot of different priorities that we try to focus on as far as our grant-making perspective. And basically, we've divided our priorities into, I think, 7 different areas. The short answer is pretty much anything that the people in our community are interested in funding would fall into one of these categories. Recreation. We fund arts and culture, we fund education, we fund social services, we fund environmental issues. I'm sure I've missed a couple, but a whole variety of youth development of different organizations. And we try to be responsive to what the needs are in the community and what the interest in the community is. For example, I've noticed that we're funding a lot of organizations that focus on animal welfare, which falls loosely under our environmental category. But that's something that people in our community are very interested, both domestic and wildlife. So that's something that we've been putting money toward.
Well, the categories that you've mentioned are certainly very broad-based.
Yes,
it sounds like you could really cover a lot of area there. You mentioned grant making, and I'm curious about that. How important are grants to the foundation?
Grants that we make into the community?
Or grants that you would apply for?
Grants that the foundation applies for. Less important to the organization. Most of our funding and most of our focus is encouraging individuals, private people in our community to invest within the community. We receive some private foundation funds. Actually, one of the more exciting funds that we've just received is a grant from the Packard Foundation to really help our foundation think well about what our leadership role in the community should be, and I think that's something that we'll be involving a good number of people in the community in over the next 12 months or so. And Kath has graciously volunteered to be the champion for that project based on all of her leadership skills in the community.
And her spare time.
And her spare time.
Well, you mentioned earlier in the first segment of the show that people can actually give to the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, and there may be some people interested in doing that. But why would they? Let's talk about that.
Well, there are really several reasons. One is the community foundation is, as Lisa described and you picked up on, Maya, is very broad-based. We really can provide grant making in any arena that matches any interest that a donor may have. We're very much in touch with the entire community. Central people who have an interest, who need money in order to fund their programs to enrich this community, really come to us in order to seek grants, and we get a lot of practice as a result. We had, I think, 17 grant requests in the first cycle, 38 grant requests in the second cycle. So we really have a lot of expertise in the area of grant making. We also have the opportunity, because of our association with large community foundations like the Peninsula Foundation, as well as the League of California Community Foundations, of getting a lot of advice and counsel from those organizations on how to best go through grant making. So we have a lot of expertise in that area.
And when you talk about the number of requests in a cycle, is a cycle a year? That's a lot of requests.
We're funding twice a year currently.
Wow,
Right.
Wow, that is a lot. That's a number.
And a big part of our work is making grants to a wide variety of groups. So we're able to offer a service not only to the recipients of those grants, but to the donors. It really makes it easy for them to figure out where they would like to put their funds, given all the programs that might be going on in this region.
And there are a lot of great things going on in this region.
There really are.
I mean, that's one of the nice things to see.
It's one of the fun things about it, when you see all these things, even as active as so many of the board members are in the various communities, there are things that we're seeing that we never really realized were happening. And so in that regard, we're a center of information for activities within the community. I think another reason why one might want to give to the Community Foundation is that benefits. First of all, donations are tax deductible. That's of interest to a lot of folks who have philanthropic interests. But because we're a full service foundation, we have the ability to do a lot of things that maybe smaller nonprofits wouldn't be able to offer their donors as far as their specific interests for tax benefits and actually making philanthropic contributions. There are innumerable examples of that. And if people do have an interest in giving and seeing what the tax advantages to them might be, I would encourage them to talk to Lisa Dobey at the foundation. She could explore with them, given their particular needs, what some of their opportunities are.
If people give through the foundation, do they have the opportunity to direct where their funds go, or does it go into the larger pool?
They have the opportunity to advise us of where those funds might go. Legally, the responsibility rests with our board of directors to make that decision. Generally, the recommendation from the donor would be honored if it's an acceptable organization, if it's a nonprofit that's serving people, that's helping the community in general, then it would be something that we would honor that recommendation of the donor.
And that's one of the real advantages, and I use the term full service philanthropic organization, because an individual may in any one year have a reason to want to give a very large amount of money, but not really give all that money to one organization. But through the foundation, they can meter it out over several years, although they get the tax deduction in the year they made it. That's just an example of some of the things that can be very attractive to donors. And of course, the benefit flows to the community ultimately.
Kathleen, what about the safety of people's money? If they do make a donation or a gift through the foundation, how can they be sure that the foundation will be here next year or the year after?
It's also one of the advantages of the foundation is its permanence, stability, and its flexibility we talked about before. Again, because it's so broad-based and can reach the needs of, it has no particular interest. In other words, pick the Tahoe Rim Trail. When somebody gives the Tahoe Rim Trail, they got to be thinking about whether it's going to be there forever and it's only that one particular interest, wonderful as it is. When they give to the Community Foundation, if for some reason one of their projects that they're very passionate about is accomplished within 2 years, they have the opportunity in years 3 and 4 to advise the foundation of other areas where they would like to give their donations or philanthropic interests, or where they would like to explore philanthropic interests. Because of that broad base and the large assets of the foundation, it has a real permanence. It can change with the community.
Okay.
It's not special purpose.
I really like the fact that people can be giving, which is a benefit into itself, and then also have additional incentives to be able to give their money through. We just have a couple of more minutes left in this segment, and I wanted to talk about a couple of other items with you. One of them was the community ski pass. Now, I mentioned ski runs earlier, and that's, of course, a favorite of mine, but what is the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation ski pass?
It's a wonderful program. 2 of our board members, Roger Kahn and Rob Kautz, were concerned about ensuring the operations of the foundation were able to be met so that all the donations that people make to the endowment funds, so that those funds can really be funneled into the community. And they were worried about this, and one of the things they did was they went out and approached the ski industry, all the different ski areas in our community, and said, we'd like you to help support and invest in the infrastructure of the foundation. And I'm happy to say that every single ski area in our community said, yeah, we'll be glad to help do this. And so we put together this wonderful ski pass. It has, how many days does it have? 23 days, 12 different ski areas, and it's 2 days midweek at each of the ski areas. So it comes out to about $13 a day to ski. It's $299 to purchase the ski pass, and all of those proceeds go to the foundation and continuing the operations of the organization.
And that's another piece of the stability of the foundation, is that through programs like this and the work of the entire community, the Community Foundation can run its administration without drawing from the donations that are made through it.
And be an ongoing concern.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, we're going to take just a quick break now. Stay tuned. We'll be back to finish up on the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. Welcome back to the show. We're wrapping up this week's segment of Truckee Talks, talking about the Tahoe Truckee community. Welcoming back to the show Kathleen Eagan and Lisa Dobey. We've really talked about some interesting ways that people can benefit from giving through the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. Excuse me. How do they go about doing that? Who do they contact? Numbers, names?
Easy. I'm Lisa Dobey, and I'm the president of the foundation, and people are welcome to call me. My office is at the law offices of Porter Simon. People can drop into my office and just sit down and start talking about things that they're passionate about and how they'd like to invest in the community, and we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
That's great.
Very easy.
That's great. Kathleen, we were sort of breezing through a whole list of benefits to people that want to give through the foundation. I want to talk also about ways that the foundation has already given to the community. And we touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the show, but this is a recent article again in the Sierra Sun just this last week. Foundation awards grants totaling $37,500. Wow, that's great. That's
fantastic.
a lot of money. And we talk about the community, we have to be aware that it's the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. What's the geographic area that you're serving here?
The geographic area really is from Donner Summit through the town of Truckee, all the way up to the North Shore and then down to the West Shore.
West Shore. That's typically what we would think of as the Tahoe Truckee community. And the list here is dynamite. The Bear Preservation League, the Tahoe Truckee Excellence in Education Foundation, Friends of the Kings Beach Library, Tahoe Cross Country Ski Education. The list just goes on. It's really a very, very nice benefit to the community that you're doing all of this.
And we hope that each funding cycle will be able to give a little bit more and a little bit more into the community. This fiscal year we'll be giving away close to $100,000, so we really think we are making an impact in the community with the grants we're able to award.
And with the increase in endowment monies or donations from donors because of their interest in the foundation and all the flexibility it provides them, we can expect to see that grow. That's the kind of opportunity I think that Jim Porter saw when he first got the phone call on the Community Foundation from the Hewlett family, and it's certainly the opportunity that the rest of the board members saw, that would grow over time.
Are you anticipating getting feedback from the community members as far as ways they'd like to see that money spent, or are you receiving just a whole lot of applications for, gee, we could use some money and help us out here?
Well, you're just always one step ahead of it. We actually have been talking about doing a needs assessment and really to get a good sense of what both the needs in the community are, what the assets that our community has that we want to maintain, and to get a good sense of what it is that our donors in the community are interested in supporting. So yes, absolutely, that's important to us.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say to folks who may want to give or may need more information?
One thing people may want to know is, as an example, some individuals, when they donate, they really think in terms of setting up their own private foundations. But they can actually accomplish the same thing through a community foundation with not near the expense. So that's one attribute. The other thing that I might mention is that donations, you might have noticed there was an article in the newspaper on the Breeze Cross family has pledged to give $75,000 over 5 years. And their interest is being able to give in perpetuity. So they're giving that into an endowment, and the earnings off those funds will end up going back to the community forever. They're interested in having, you know, their family, which is a long and rich history of involvement in the community, of actually having a named fund, so the Cross Family Fund. But there are other donors who have no desire for any notoriety, who really would prefer anonymity, and we have that capability also.
Okay. Well, that's great to know. It sounds like you are really doing some good work in the community. What a tremendous asset this is, and how nice to finally get some clarity on it for folks that have been maybe reading about it, didn't know what it was. I really appreciate both of you coming to the show.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Jim Porter, who was on the show earlier, as well as Lisa Dobey and Kathleen Eagan for being our guests on today's show. If you'd like more information on the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, you can contact Lisa Dobey. She is at the Porter Simon Law Offices out on Highway 267, and I'm sure you can track her down there. Thanks so much for joining us today on Truckee Talks. We'll be coming back real soon with a new show, and we really appreciate you watching. Thanks.